Welcome to the North Star podcast. Join Claire Daniels and Pete Mills as we talk about defining your purpose and finding your own North Star. We'll be talking about inspiring stories, career highlights, and celebrating Northern businesses. Thank you for being part of our journey. We hope you enjoy listening.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to a new series of the North Star podcast. I'm Claire.
I'm Pete.
And we're really excited to have you joining us this year. Thank you to anyone who has returned, and welcome to all our new listeners as well.
Absolutely.
We have leveled up this year, and all episodes are now going to be available on YouTube as well. So to those watching, hello, you'll be able to see us. But yeah, thank you to those who still choose to listen via your audio podcast apps. So what we thought we would do in this episode as a nice recap for old listeners, but also just to reintroduce ourselves to new listeners, is just give a bit of an update on what's been going on. I mean, it's been quite a while since we've recorded anything. The podcast started during the pandemic.
It did.
And, we kind of got together, did some filming, lockdown again, and we've recorded when we could.
Boris Johnson keeping us at home.
I know, but we're hoping, it sounds like it's the end of it now.
I think so, hopefully.
So yeah, we're back with a vengeance, and I think it'd be a great time to just update on everyone on what's been going on, and kickstart the year, really.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Pete, what has changed since we last recorded?
Well, the most important thing is I became a dad.
Woohoo!
So,
Congratulations.
and not a dog dad or a three-cat dad.
Which you already are.
Yeah. So now, had a daughter 6 months ago, and she's amazing. My wife has done an amazing job and continues to do so, and it's really completed us. We couldn't ask for more, really. I'm getting a bit emotional just talking about it.
Pete, so proud.
So becoming a father has completely changed my perspective, and I can't wait to share some of those stories with you and those thoughts when we unpack in the podcast. But I'm hoping I look half decent today with interrupted sleep, but we'll see.
You look lovely.
So that's I had to start with that. That's the most important thing in my life, and work.
Can I just say on that point, it did make me laugh because you put up a LinkedIn post at the end of the year of like all these things that you'd achieved and been doing, but obviously you were keeping it professional. I was tagged in it that you talked about the podcast, about the different businesses you're involved in, and all of this, and then you did put the end. Let me know if you missed anything, and I saw someone commented, "What about the birth of your daughter?" I was like,
that too.
Good.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I think it's funny, isn't it, social media? Because I've been really careful with sharing a picture, and I think and this is going to go out on all the platforms and everything else. But there's part of me that wants her to be able to go, do I want to be on social media? But in fairness, I could have written that in. So busy thinking about work, but that's been an amazing thing in the last 6 months, and it's really made me think about the way I'm running this year, what I want to do, and especially with some of the work opportunities that we have across the businesses. Where how do I make sure she's included? In terms of not being that absent dad as well. This temptation is to just keep doing the evenings and going away places, but we'll get into that. And what's changed for you in the last 6 months since a lot has happened, the team's grown.
So just kind of continuing on with Trio, obviously our kind of career path's quite different. You're involved in quite a few businesses, whereas I'm just running Trio at the moment. But the team's grown, there's 11 of us now, had a really successful year. I've now become a trustee at Children's Heart Surgery Fund, joined the board there, which is really nice to be able to give some of my time to that. And it's quite interesting because Children's Heart Surgery Fund is basically, they support Leeds and surrounding area. They've got a dedicated unit in one of the Leeds hospitals, and they're helping children that are born with heart defects. And so a lot of people involved in the charity are people who have been affected by it in some way. And so when you go and you meet people, I've been to networking with the heart mums and dads, they call them, who've had children who've been affected. And it's like, well, what's your story? And I'm like, I don't have a story around this, but actually what my story is I want to help. I'm passionate about marketing and helping businesses grow with that. So that's the experience that I'm taking there, really. So whilst I don't have a intimate story involved in the work of the charity, what it is bringing to me is there's just the opportunity to be able to kind of lend my expertise to a cause that's really worthwhile.
Fantastic, Claire. And what are you, we're both involved in Rainforest Trust, what are your plans with that this year then?
I'm actually doing a talk for them in, I think it might be next month, but just trying to keep involved. I mean, obviously you and I have both said we want to go on some kind of South America mission.
It will happen.
Yes. We're just take us there. We've sponsored you long enough. We want to go. I think we would both love to do something a lot more hands-on. But in the meantime, just supporting them, doing whatever we can. I mean, the back end of last year, so in December, we actually did Vlogmas as a business. And so we were trying to plan as many things we could to raise awareness about different causes as we could. And we went out to feed the homeless as a team, as one of the activities. And so as well, instead of doing Christmas presents for our clients, we gave them the option to choose between Homeless Street Angels, Rainforest Trust or Children's Heart Surgery Fund as to where to donate to. So,
and out of interest, without putting any of the businesses on the spot, where did they tend to fall then?
The interesting one, homeless was the most. Right. So Homeless Street Angels got the most votes in terms of where people wanted support. It was really interesting. I thought we'd get more of a mixed bag, but actually that was the clear leader there.
I think at Christmas time it just starts a emotive image, isn't it, of someone on the streets basically, which is horrendous.
Absolutely. But as well, one of the things I think it's proven that when you get your team involved in activities like that, it actually helps them and boosts their morale. So whilst actually we all came away from feeding the homeless feeling pretty downbeat and wanting to cry ourselves to sleep, it was a nice thing to do as a team. And something I've been looking at is whether to bring in a more official process at Trio of for every 10 clients we have, for example, we then will take one on for free where we're helping a charity. So that's something I'm considering. We've just done some work with another homeless charity in Leeds for free, helping them on their social media and SEO.
Is that St George's Crypt?
Yeah.
I saw that on the social update. Yeah,
good.
Great cause.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think I'm just looking at a sign across the room from where we are that says "Be kind," that's over on the cabinet, and that's what it's about, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And even with you mentioning about becoming a dad, just as you were saying it, I was thinking this is what this podcast is all about. For those people who haven't listened before, it's really about finding your purpose, and it doesn't have to be a purpose. It can be multiple. As humans, we have multiple layers, multiple hats we have to wear, and it can change as well. Probably when we started the podcast, you weren't planning on having kids, or it wasn't at the top of your radar at that moment in time. But then it changes, and now your purpose, as you mentioned, is all driven around having that work-life balance to be a dad.
Absolutely.
And so many of these stories are relatable to other people.
Absolutely. No, I shared recently with somebody that I work with that when I was growing up, my parents were building a fish and chip shop business, right? And back in the 80s, giving my age away, but back in the 80s, the sort of opening times were very what we would describe as antisocial now. So you'd be opening late in the evening, you'd be open all of the weekends, and I'm not crying wolf. I had a good childhood, and I had my grandparents and everything, but my dad and my mum were at work a lot. And it's funny, in my old house where we used to live, it looked onto Bradford from the other end, so you could see where the airport is in the distance and all the lights into the city. And I can remember being a child looking out going, I wonder which light my dad is. Because I couldn't, he wasn't there. And I think that's something that, I'm genuinely lucky now to be in a place where I can make the conscious choice that I can limit that as much as possible. Of course, there's going to be times when I can't take her with me, and hopefully one day she'll have her own life. She'll want to be like, Dad, I'm not going to work with you.
She can come work for me.
Yes, come work. Well, having someone like you as a role model would be amazing. So I think that now is really like just made me think what is important. Yesterday, I had a couple of hours around lunchtime where I had lunch with my wife and with my daughter, and that's just amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And
great.
so describe like what does your working week, month, etc. look like? What are all the different activities that you're involved in?
So it's quite because across portfolio it's quite intense. So we're at, since the last podcast, I think we probably everything had received sort of early stage funding.
Yeah.
And so we now we're in an amazing conversation with one business, and we're looking at outside investment from American venture capitalists, which is, if we secure that, would be brilliant. I'm working very closely with the guys at Twinkle with our startup Crisp, which is based out of Bradford, and there's some exciting news coming for that one in February. And so there's, as you know, Claire, running your business, it's that recruitment, it's the sales driver, it's the technology. Yeah. But where I'm really trying to be strict on my own time is what are the gaps where I need to fill that suits my capabilities the best, and where do I need to make sure that either if I'm a driver I'm supported, or where I'm supporting with the right skills to the driver that's taking that activity forward. So in a nutshell, intense, but I think certainly the perspective of changing things in the last 6 months, but also knowing that in the businesses we've got to recruit people that really want to get on in the areas that they need to be at, and that's something that I'm really working hard on this year.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so remind me of your portfolio. There's Crisp, which you co-founded, and then are you a non-exec?
Yeah.
Or for 4, is it?
Yeah,
investor?
Three and a shareholder. Yeah. So basically, Crisp. We spun out of an existing health and safety practice in York with my co-founder Stuart Harlow, and that's it's really gathering some speed, and we're doing really well. It's just a great thing to be involved with. I'm learning a lot from Stuart. I'd like to think vice versa if you're watching this from me as well. Just slip that in. And then from a non-exec perspective, Slingshot Simulations, which is one of the most exciting businesses that has been spun out of the University of Leeds, and also in Leeds itself. And the founder David there, what he's bringing to the table is amazing, and his team. So I'm very lucky to be supporting that. And then there's 2 other startups. One is Just Access, which we've relocated from London to Leeds, founded by the excellent Sophie Walker. And then there's a Stealth, I'm not sure if I can mention the name yet, but Andrew and Joe, who are driving a very exciting product in the domiciliary social care market. I'm proud to be part of all of that. And I think I read somewhere about, being around people like you and these guys on that journey where they're all great people. Yeah. So I just find my working day is awesome.
I love it, and you said that to me, that you've had a really rewarding week just because of the impact that you're seeing and how these businesses
just the energy. Maybe it's just the start of the new year, right? And we've just had some time off over Christmas, but the energy that is being applied across the board from everybody I work with, it makes me just come to the table with energy all the time. It's had without giving you my weekly breakdown, it's been great. So no, I feel really, really fortunate, and I'm sure we'll retouch on gratitude and all of those things. But 2 years ago, when we first started really thinking about this podcast and this series that we're doing together, I was basically starting again. Yeah. Exiting my company. What on earth do I do now? To really anchoring myself with this is where I need to be and where I'm going, so which is great. But enough about me rattling on, right? I've gone.
You don't like it too much, do you?
No, like bounce it back to.
You've heard too much of your own voice.
Yeah, bounce it back to you now. So I think looking from the outside on the updates from Trio, you've doubled the team size in the last. What seems like the last few weeks. I'm sure it's the last couple of months. Yeah. You're looking at a pilot London office. There's potential international work. give us a lowdown of what's happening with Trio this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking about it just before we started about plans for the year, and I spoke you through some of the things that we've done, which I would like to share here because I think it might inspire other people as well. So, as you know, Pete, but I've always been very ambitious and had ambitious plans, for myself and any businesses that I've been involved in. And Trio has naturally been growing since taking it on. We've had year on year 40% growth each year for the past 2 years. All of that through a pandemic as well.
Why do you think 40%, 50% growth areas? I mean, that's a fantastic rate for any business.
Yeah.
What's your secret of success there?
I think it's a number of things. I think we've really nailed down our branding and our marketing and the message that we put out there. So obviously people are part of the brand and they all portray that really well. So people are buying into our brand. And, I can't remember if I've said it on this podcast before, but one of our mottos for our social media, for example, is the vibe it should give out is you either want to work with us or for us. And that's the motto. So everything that we put out needs to make people think, I want to be part of that in some way, shape or form.
Love it.
So it's made recruiting really easy because people look online, they really get the energy of the business, they get to see people and feel like they know them. So recruiting's become easy, but also prospective businesses that we're going to be working with are seeing what we're doing as well. And it's the proof in the pudding, as a marketing company, we need to be able to market ourselves.
Yep.
So that's worked really well, and that kind of honing in on our brand. We have then also honed in on our skill sets and in turn driven forward price increases, and we're now charging a lot more for our services. There's still a long way to go with that as well. We've got some legacy clients that haven't had a price increase in 3 years, so that's this year's plan, is to do that. Because we froze any price increases due to COVID, but we did implement new pricing for any new clients coming on board. So we're able to charge more and people can see the value of that extra price that they're paying. Just really honing in on what it is that we're doing and having a great team who are really proactive, do great work, bring in great opportunities as well.
Fantastic. It's going great guns, and I love that motto of would you want to work with us either way, either internally or as a client. And I think from what I see on the updates now, it's so personable. Yeah. But there's a quality behind it as well in terms of, I can see how businesses would go, I want a piece of that because it could help us. Yeah. So that's amazing. And
well, that's the thing, we one of our services is we do offer social media management, and when people go, oh, I see what you're doing on your own social media, and that
can I have some of that?
Exactly.
So it's selling itself, right? Yeah. That's amazing. And then I guess for us this year, this is a big year, right? We had we had a go, right? I think it's a fair thing to say with the podcast. Just because you wrote that down in your phone 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 2018.
Do you know what? I actually
5,
was it 2015?
I'll take 2015.
I don't know. I will probably have it somewhere. I will have kept it just for nostalgia. That yes, I wrote on a note in my iPhone. My iPhone notes, honestly. If you see it, that's an insight into my brain. Yeah. But I had. Have you got
the one where you say, "I'll buy Pete that house on the south of France" as well? Is that written in there?
Not yet. Okay, I'll add it to my list.
but it's great, isn't it? Because we put something out there, and we had no expectation really of what might come back. Yeah. And the fact that we're sat here today and the analytics is still showing people downloading it is amazing, isn't it? And I think that's why we really wanted to reboot and come at it in 2022 with a bit more gusto.
Absolutely. So to give an idea, because I was going to talk about this, I want to share with you just Trio's strategy for 2022 and the ideas I've had behind that and forming it, and then hopefully that inspires others and they see why we find it really important to do what we're doing here as well. So I had quite a clear vision of where I think we could take the company, and so in December I got all the team together and sat down and actually said, right, blank sheet of paper, what is the strategy? Because what I wanted to see is if the people at Trio could dream as big as I could dream, and obviously you've got quite a disconnect if you've got a bunch of people that don't see the same vision for the business as you see it. But we sat down, we spent a couple of hours, and the team formulated the strategy that was aligned with my vision anyway, and the plan worked, you know, in that actually everyone thought the same as what I did. So yeah, we've got plans to continue to expand the business this year. We're moving into new offices in the spring, where we're going to have our own studio for doing a lot more of the video content that we're producing. Following that, the plan would be to acquire a London office. We do have a presence in London right now, but something more official, before then looking at international expansion. We've got a lot of goals about the type of clients that we want to work with and the way we want to be doing work. Also continuing, like, we really do have such a great team, and it's funny, one of the one-to-ones that I did with someone, I don't want to be too specific in case one of them, like, they figure out who it is, but one member of my team said, because we've all come from like dysfunctional backgrounds and broken families, and we've all got a story, that's why we've become our own family together, because people needed that. Everyone like needs something that, like, that's what I can really hold on to, and I'm so fortunate to have that with my team here. And so, you know, I've got such a great group of people to drive the business forward with. So we're looking at initiatives. I've just inquired about joining the pilot for the 4-day working week as well. Wow. Okay. So it's something. So basically, I started off this year, say, with the key word as productivity, and we'll go into it a little bit. But you know, I put cards on the table to the team. I'm prepared to discuss anything that you think would make you more productive. That's what I want this year to be about. I don't want it to necessarily be add headcount. I want to look at how we can make the existing people more productive. So we spoke about everything, and I had to say, look, what about the 4-day working week? So I don't think anyone would have thought of putting it on the table, but I said I'm open to it, and the team are definitely curious about trying it. So I thought, well, let's actually go get involved on the official pilot. You know, I'd love to be part of that. So I've got a call in a couple of weeks to find out more, and then we can get involved with the researchers and make sure that we're implementing it properly. So just really trying to drive the business forward in a positive way this year and be really productive. I've also had to say goodbye to some commitments I had as I try to focus on my own productivity.
I was about to say, because you are involved in other things outside of Trio as well, aren't you? So how's that all panning out? Yeah,
good. So I was on another podcast. I've now quit that because I really want to focus on the North Star podcast, because I think what you and I here, Pete, have something really special. As you mentioned before about the analytics. We've seen that people listen, like, we've really not pushed it, and we found that people listening anyway. And for me, one of the things I wrote down and goals for this year, and it would be so lovely. I really hope people know they can come and connect with us, you know, on LinkedIn, on anywhere they want to find us. And get involved in the conversation. But the big thing I wrote down is, like, we want to inspire people. You know, that's what I look for. If I'm looking for a podcast, I'm out going on a walk, I'm driving somewhere, and I want to feel motivated and inspired, and I feel like there's probably not enough of that out there. And so, you know, obviously tell me what you think, but from my point of view, this podcast is really just about sharing those honest, real stories of real people who, would people say we've made it? I mean, I think for both of us, we're on a journey to where we want to go. But we want to share those stories with people to inspire others to know that kind of anything you set your mind to is possible.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, for me, and, you know, I've experienced this in different parts of my early career, where I was working environments that they pretended, either individuals pretended or the organisation pretended. And, you know, the feedback we've had on the initial podcast, which was just amazing, was I blitzed all 4 episodes, or I listened to all of them while I was doing the shower or whatever. It's amazing what some people were doing. A long shower. I think one guy said he was doing the bathroom out or something.
Right,
I had a message saying he was decorating, but he he started listening to one. You know, I've had family members and friends where I haven't pushed it to them, because it's not about trying to push a thing. It's just it's let it happen and see what comes back to us. I mean, we're almost just throwing it out in the universe and going, see what bounces back. But I think we are on a journey. And when you're listening, I think, to things where people are spouting from the top and they're with this and with that and the other, there's so many hidden things and agendas and why they're doing that. Whereas what we want to do is really share that journey, and if people are inspired by that for their own journeys in their family lives, in their work lives, you don't have to be a multimillionaire or whatever. It's just what are you doing to be happy, and around that is really knowing what your purpose is. So it's been great listening to, getting involved in a children's charity, which is amazing for you. Cutting down some of those extra commitments where actually what's the core, what's the thing I really am driven by.
Yeah.
And I've certainly been on the same journey as well. So
in 2022, I know we were going to talk more about goals, but actually with this whole podcast being about purpose, what do you think your main purpose is for 2022?
Wow, stellar question. I would break that down into a couple of things for me. I think my purpose is making sure that my family are provided for. So, and I'm saying that more not from a 1950s perspective, because my wife has a fantastic career and everything else when she goes back to work after maternity, but it's more about risk taking and reward and where am I spending my energy. So the purpose around looking at the business portfolio and going, where is the best use of my time, and how are we moving these things on incrementally, and being patient about that as well. It's not about trying to drive everything as hard as possible. It takes time. One of our investors in one of the businesses, he's done it organically over 12 years and he employs nearly 1,300 people now.
Wow.
And he's adding to that all the time, and it's just been and patience. And he's got a great product, right, as well. It helps, doesn't it? But I think that's something which, from a purpose perspective, really going, okay, how do I maximise my family time, but also what I'm doing, and then around that, I think there's a lot of young people, and I've just started to know, I don't know about your average age, sort of in your business. But what I've noticed is sort of young people coming into the various businesses I'm involved with, and I feel the difference now between me at the age I'm at and someone who's early 20s. Even though I bought a skateboard, but I'll tell you about that later. Fell off it just before Christmas. I haven't been on it since. But
is that like an identity crisis? I've become a dad.
It's one of the developers at Slingshot. He's a really cool guy. We talk a lot, and he's telling me about his skateboarding days. And I was a blader when I was in my teenage years. But I never was a skateboarder. So anyway, I'll share that another time. But just like the chasm, I think of where people think they need to be, and just trying to, that purpose of going, well, I'm a leader now. I'm a leader in what I do. So the people that are coming through behind me, I want them to feel that they can be authentic as well. And none of this sort of, I'm 22 and I should be a millionaire.
I know, which I'm sure we've spoken about before, because that is just the expectation now. This is what everyone sees faced with social media. Is they look online and they see the Stephen Bartletts, the Ben Francis, of the world who. And even I've seen something recently from Ben Francis, who's the founder of Gymshark, of him going, people just look at my story now and they forget all the failed businesses before, they forget all the hours I've put in.
Exactly.
And I'm pleased that he's calling it out a little bit, because actually what a lot of people in that position are doing is they try and make it look like an overnight success instead of being real about it. Whereas you and I sit here and I can say, yes, I'm 32, I'm the CEO of my own business, and it's absolutely everything I could have wanted and more. But I've worked harder than anyone I know, if I'm frank. And I've got friends who might work really hard, but they might have gone travelling for a couple of years in between, or they might have done all these different things. And it's like, I've done nothing but work towards this goal since I left uni. So it's about reminding yourself of that. And again, being kind to yourself, of like, if you're not where someone else is, that's because you've not walked in their shoes, you've not gone on their path.
Exactly.
And I think, one of the main things for me, when I started thinking it, and hopefully this is a great place to kind of almost finish this episode and invite people to listen to the next one, is about mindset. And one of my key things is being like, it's actually about being happy. That's what I want, and what does happiness mean to me, and how do I achieve it? And actually for me, I do love work, and I've been kind of toying with this idea of seeing a lot about hobbies and thinking, don't have many hobbies. Like, work is my hobby. If I'm at home and I'm bored and I want something to do, I do work because that's what I enjoy doing. So I don't think we should shy away from that. I just think there's so many expectations out there, because it's like, the people painting a picture of like, you can be an overnight success, you can be a CEO at the age of 21, you can be this, you can be that. But then there's so much slandering of like, overworking shouldn't be celebrated, staying late shouldn't be, whatever. What should stop is just a chat about it. People are gonna make your own path and make your own way, because actually it frustrates me when people say, people that talk about working late or whatever, it's old fashioned. It's like, no, that's just what I like to do. Absolutely. I don't talk about it. And there's going to be some people who do not want to work a single morsel more than they have to, because they've got other things they enjoy doing, and they're seeking their happiness in another place. So I think it's about really starting to think about what it is that makes you happy, finding your purpose, and working towards that every single day.
I think that's right, Claire. So maybe we should leave it there and pick up in the next one.
Yes. So thank you everyone for joining us. Our next episode is going to be all around mindset. So hopefully that's a really useful one. Please don't forget to like, subscribe. We would love it if you left us a review. We know you can do that over on Apple Podcasts. And now that we're on YouTube as well, you can leave a comment. Feel free to join that conversation. And if not, reach out to us on LinkedIn and connect with us there and talk to us. You'll find me under Claire Daniels and
Pete Mills.
So see you in the next one. Thanks guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the North Star podcast. To find out more about us and find more episodes, please visit thenorthstarpodcast.co.uk. Thank you for listening.